Hello, my name is Grace or Mutaramu Grace, and here on this channel called Tonyamutwe Moyo, we talk about biological cells and microbes. Why do we do this? We talk about biological cells and microbes specifically because biological cells make up all living organisms. Additionally, microbes, and this means things like bacteria, viruses, fungus, amoeba, parasites, all these small organisms that you have to use a microscope to see, make up a large proportion of living organisms on Earth. On top of that, there have been calculations that there are just as many bacteria on our bodies as there are human cells. And so then to understand and discuss human health, you have to kind of discuss the cells and what's happening at the cellular level, and also you have to discuss the microbes that are interacting with those cells. There are different types of interactions with microbes. Sometimes microbes are helpful and other times they are harmful. And you've probably heard about many different harmful microbes. So these are microbes that cause issues like stomach ulcers. You've heard of Helicobacter pylori, this is what it looks like, or even a disease like HIV, or rather a virus like HIV which causes AIDS. This is what it looks like. You might have heard of the disease elephantiasis. This is what the parasite looks like. And then if we think about a disease like diabetes, which is not infectious, what does it do? It affects the pancreatic cells that make insulin, which is important for our health. So this is to say that the subject of biological cells and the microbes that they interact with is really, really important, especially for human health. One interesting nuance of this discussion is the fact that much of scientific discussion takes place in English and not enough of it happens in our mother tongues. And so that is why we try to talk about the subject of biological cells and microbes in our mother tongue of Gikuyu. And so the hope is that as I build this platform, I will be able to expand it to include other African mother tongues so that we can have more dialogues about biological cells and microbes and a more holistic conversation regarding health, healthcare, and research discoveries that are really, really important. And so we do this on this show called Taũkĩrwo, and this show is hosted by Kimaniwa, Emma, and Kathy K of Oge Media. And this is a list of some of the things that we've discussed so far. And then we also have a show called Taũkĩrwo Kids, which is hosted by a little bee called Wairimu, who I met not too long ago. Last month, she hosted 4 shows right here on the Tonyamutwe Moyo platform. So she hosted one show called about the importance of washing your hands, and then another one where she asked me the different types of bacteria that you can find on your hands. Then there's a third one where she talked about the importance of brushing your teeth and the type of bacteria that can be found on our teeth. And then the last one, she talked about what ringworm was. She was really interested in understanding what a ringworm is. And so then we had that conversation, and that was the 4th episode. Her audience is individuals under the age of 10. That's the primary audience, but I think really her content is applicable and relevant to everyone. And so, yeah, that's our team and that's what we do here. It looks actually like she's calling. So let's have a quick chat with her. Let me add her. So, hi, Wairimu. Thank you for stopping by. How are you?
Hi, Mutaramu Grace.
Oh, it's nice to see you. I was just introducing myself again to the audience of Tonyamutwe Moyo because it's been a while since I've been seen on the channel. So that's what I was introducing. I think they've seen you a lot in June, right?
Yes, I did several lessons in the month of June.
Right. How was your week?
My week was okay. There were some really loud protests near where I live, near my hive.
There were protests. That's right. Last week in Kenya had protests. That's true. Okay.
Actually, I don't know what are protests. What are protests?
What are protests? Oh, that's a good question. So a protest is basically when people are upset or they're frustrated and they want their government to pay attention. So what they do is they come together and then they move in a group to try and get the attention of their leaders because there's a problem at hand.
What is the problem specifically?
What is the problem in this instance? Wait, so they were close to your hive? Is that what happened? Oh, so you had them because they were close to you. Okay. So sorry. So your question was, what was the protest about? Okay, so let me think about this. I guess a good analogy might be work. So in your hive where you live, typically each bee has work and it has a place and it has a role and it has a place to stay and it has access to food. In the world of humans, this is a little bit different. Typically what happens is you have to kind of go to school or learn a trade, and then that trade is what you can then exchange for money and resources that then you can use to buy a home and that you can use to buy food and to be stable. So what happens is that if for whatever reason a large number of people are not able to either go to school or graduate from school or find work, then that means that the number of people who are able to live and to advance and to become stable is lower, right? And so from what I understand, that's what's happening right now, is that the economy or the amount of money and therefore the amount of work is not very high. And so then what this means is that a lot of people go to school because they want to learn a trade to contribute to society. But then if there's no work, then they're just kind of left in limbo. And that seems to be the trend. I think the rate of people who are not employed is pretty high, especially young people. And so I think the primary concern is they want to ask the leaders to pay attention to this issue and to help in some way. So I think that was the nature and that was the heart of the protest. Because I think from what I've been reading, the issue is that life is very, very hard. And so they're asking for some concession. So I think that's the protest that you had last week. Yeah.
Thank you, Mutaramu Grace. I hope that the government and the people will have a good conversation. Also, I read somewhere that there are microbes that are found in bread. Is that true?
So you read somewhere that there are microbes on bread. So I think what I can do is, I think to answer your question, I would kind of say two separate things. So the first thing is that whenever bread goes bad, whenever we say that bread has gone bad, typically that means that something is growing on it, and that something is not something that we want to eat. So typically what can happen is there are microbes everywhere. So what can happen is that if bread has been sitting somewhere for a very, very long time, then that means that the microbes that are around it end up using it for nutrients because it's there and it's sitting, and then you end up having a lot of these microbes in one place. And then when we look at it, we say, oh, that bread has been spoiled, or that bread is spoiled. So I think in that regard, it is true that you can have microbes on bread or microbes in bread. And then I think the second part of the answer to your question is, are there jobs for microbes in the process of bread making? And so the answer is yes. There are actually two different types of microbes who have very significant work in the process of bread making. So there is one type of microbe called yeast, and what it does is it breaks down the flour, and in that process of breaking it down, it makes a gas called carbon dioxide. And so then this gas kind of makes these air bubbles, and then that's what we see when we look at leavened bread or bread that has risen. you see that it's very light and fluffy, and that's because of the job of yeast. Then another type of microbe that does work in the process of bread making is this. There are different types of bacteria, and what they do is they make acid. So they consume, they eat. So what they do is similar to what the yeast is doing. They eat the nutrients in that environment, and then they make acid. And so then this acid, it's kind of stressful for other bacteria to be in that environment. And so essentially, this acid helps to keep the dough and the bread bacteria free. And so in this way, the bacteria that are making this acid, they're trying to make it they're making it safe to eat, basically. And also the taste of the acid tends to be a bit sour sometimes, and people like sour sometimes, and the flavor and the taste is usually really tasty and interesting. And so this is the job of two different microbes, one which helps to make it fluffy, and then the other one which helps to make it tasty and sour, and it gives it an interesting flavor. So I think that maybe answers your question.
Yes, you have answered my question. Now I know that when food goes bad, that might mean that microbes have stolen it, like the ones on the bread. And then I know that there is a job for microbes in making bread. I have learned that there are some microbes that help bread be fluffy, and then other microbes that help bread be yummy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Nice to see you. Bye. Yeah, so that was Wairimu. That's who has been, she's a little bee who I met. I met her with her parents, and like I said earlier, when I was talking with them, they told me that she has a lot of questions, and I told them I also had a lot of questions when I was younger, and I think they resonated with that. And so now occasionally she calls me to ask questions, and then she asked us if she could have her own show, and that's who you saw in the month of June. So we'll see if she will stay on with us. I'm not sure yet if she plans to stay on, so I guess we'll have to see. So yeah, but so I guess with that, I hope to see you all on Saturday at 4 p.m. Kenyan time for our lesson. This is our list of topics for this month. Bye.